Today on Motorz, Chris is taking our small block to the machine shop. Presented by AMP Research.
In our previous engine rebuild episode, we showed you how to tear down a Chevy 350 all the way to the block. Now, the next step is to take it to a machine shop so it can be checked for cracks and cleaned up before we can rebuild the bottom end using products from Molly Motorsports and Eagle Specialty Products. Now, Britt Bostick, the owner of NewTek Engine Systems in Ramona, California, did an excellent job machining our block. He took it from a boat anchor to a usable block that, with just a little bit of paint, will look like new. Now let's head on over to NewTek to see what it took to get our block to look like this. Britt's shop, NewTek Engine Systems, is located in Ramona, California. He has a ton of specialized equipment that most of us just don't have access to. So when it comes time to machine your block, you need to take it to a shop like NewTek. Now, since Britt has a full-service engine building shop, he can build anything from a daily driver to a full-blown race motor. Now, we could also have him assemble the motor for us, but that would take all the fun out of it. Well, Britt, thanks for letting us into your machine shop. Everybody wants to know the process of machining a block, so what's the general overview of what we're going to do today?
Okay, first off, we're working with a Chevy 350, and you guys have already stripped it down, so it's going to go into the jet wash tank. After it comes out of the dishwasher, then we'll buff it and get it all clean.
Using a camshaft bearing tool, Britt removes all the bearings in our block. We'll use the same tool later to install some new ones. Then he removes all the freeze plugs using a punch, a hammer, and some pliers. The next step is to magnaflux the block to make sure there aren't any cracks.
I'm going to mag the mains off of this thing. Magnetize it with this Magnaflux mag, and this powder's basically blow the excess off and you look for cracks. This powder consists of cast iron, talcum powder, and it's got a color in it so you can see it. It's listed on there. Lift it up here. Make the lifter bores. Well, these later model 350 Chevys, they start lightening up the casting, so they have a bad habit of cracking up in the lifter bores. Well, that's that. You guys lucked out, no cracks.
We're going to take a quick break while Britt gets our block ready for line honing.
E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs are the most powerful spark plugs you can buy. They deliver a more complete fuel burn, more power, better economy, and reduced emissions. E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs at auto parts and lawn and garden stores everywhere.
Well, you've got our block set up in your line honing machine. What's going to happen here?
We're going to dress the main saddles, get all the burrs off of them. Another thing I like to do is go along and ease the edge here. That way when we're done and when it goes on assembly, you're not peeling metal when you push the bearing in.
Okay.
We're going to go over in a little bit and cut the caps, and then we'll rough line hone it, and we'll get it to the low side of the spec, and then at that point we'll measure up your crank, and we'll put a bearing in it, and we'll physically measure and check the clearance.
Britt uses a belt sander to deburr and chamfer the main caps. This will make it easier to install and remove the bearings during the assembly process. Then he uses a cap and rod reconditioning machine to square the main caps in preparation for line honing.
Now that we've cut the caps and we've filed these mating surfaces, we're going to go back and file the edge here.
In preparation for line honing, Britt puts all the caps back on in a specific order, adds some bolt lube, puts the bolts back in, tightens them down, then torques them down to spec. Britt uses a setting fixture for the sun and dial bore gauge, setting it on the low side. He'll line hone our block to that setting. Now once that's done, we'll put the bearings in, use a micrometer to measure the crank size, set the dial bore gauge again, then verify our clearances and make any adjustments as necessary.
So we're at -3, -3.5, -3 and about 2/10, -3, and this one's -2. But we're not going to get excited about that because that cap's wider and it cuts slower. First one's half, second one's a half a thou, half a thou, half a thou, about 4/10.
A micrometer, or mic, is a very precise measuring device for when you need to measure something down to 1/1000th of an inch or smaller. All right, we've got our crank from Eagle Specialty Products. What do we need to do to it?
For right now, we're going to mic it because we want to get the size of it, put a bearing in that block, and set the dial bore gauge to the size of the crank, and then that way we get an accurate reading on what the oil clearances will be. But since we're here, we're going to go ahead and mic the main and the rod journals and record those on a build spec sheet for later references, because we'll need the rod sizes when we compare the oil clearance on the rods when we get to that part. Now we got the gauge set and bearing in there and the cap torqued up. Gauge is set to the size of the crank. I'll just gauge this hound dog and see what we got for clearance. All right, we checked our clearances with a standard bearing in here. It so happens a crankshaft. A lot of these manufacturers will put the performance cranks on the low side. So we ended up with 2.5 clearance, and since they're going to run synthetic oil, we want to run less than that. So we put some 1 under bearings in here, and we're going to check it now. And we in fact have 1 7/10 clearance. So we're going to call it a day. That's good enough.
All right, Britt, we're done line honing the block, and we're standing in front of the Blockmaster. What is this thing going to do to our engine?
We got a fixture that BHJ makes, and we're going to fixture it all up, put it in there, and when we're done, it lines up the cam and the mains and the deck surface to a 90 degrees to each other, and they're at a 45 to the center line of the block. You'll find these blocks will be rolled one way or the other, and they'll be off end for end. So this just makes all the cylinders will end up being the same size when we're done.
When we're done squaring up our block in the Blockmaster, we're going to move on to our cylinders. So hang in there. We'll be right back after this break with more Motorz. We need to use the micrometer to verify the diameters of each piston before we hone the cylinders. That way we'll make sure we end up with properly sized cylinders. We'll bolt on a torque plate to simulate the stress that the head will put on the block, and then finish honing our cylinders. Next, Britt cleans out the lifter bores so that the lifters are free of rust and debris. Then, to prevent damaging the skirts of our new Molly Motorsports pistons, Britt chamfers both the top and bottoms of each cylinder. And finally, he chamfers the distributor hole, which makes our block more accommodating to an aftermarket distributor with O-rings. Well, now that our block's been machined, the next step is to test fit our brand new crank from Eagle Specialty Products. But before we do that, we've got to pop our caps off and put everything back into our jet washer and get that thing cleaned up again. After adding some assembly lube, we can install our crank and our caps and then take one of the pistons and put it in each cylinder to make sure that we don't have any clearance issues. Our cap bolts did clear, but it was a little bit too close for comfort, so Britt took a Sharpie and marked the area and then opened it up a little bit. While the machining of our block is done, we're not, so hang in there for parts coming up next.
Parts is brought to you by the Sears Blue Tool crew.
We have just about every size, standard, and metric Craftsman socket in our shop so that we can quickly finish our projects and meet our deadlines. Now we've got the standard chrome sockets as well as impact sockets for our air tools in both standard and deep sizes. Now most of the time that's all we need, but occasionally we encounter a fastener like this guy where our deep sockets just aren't deep enough. Now in tight situations like this, quite often the best tool is an open-end box wrench, but as you probably already know, unless the situation is ideal, which it rarely is, you can never get the leverage you need, and the open-end wrench just keeps wanting to slip right off. That's why Craftsman came out with this Max Access socket, ratchet, and drive tool system. There isn't a bolt in the world that's too long for this innovative tool due to its pass-through system, which eliminates the need for deep sockets. Plus, the Max Access system provides exceptional fastener clearance for long bolts and fits in spaces where traditional ratchets and sockets can't. And included in the system are two low-profile pass-through ratchets that are 40% stronger than traditional ratchet designs and have only a 5-degree ratcheting arc, which allows you to turn a fastener in tight spaces without a huge swing. And like the standard ratchet versions, these feel great in your hands thanks to their ergonomic paint handle design. Also included with the system are extensions and adapters for both 3/8 and 1/4 inch sockets, so you can even use these ratchets with your regular sockets. Now pack it all up to go with the included plastic carrying case and have the peace of mind that if one breaks, you can replace it thanks to Craftsman's lifetime warranty. Now check them out at our website's parts page at Sears.com or visit your local Sears store. You probably already know about vehicle programmers that plug into your obd-ii port. They allow you to quickly increase the performance of your vehicle, conduct tests, and more. The SCT has been making them for years, like their SF3, X3, or even their Touchscreen Extreme. SCT's automotive programmers can increase your vehicle's horsepower, torque and throttle response, and a whole lot more, all by optimizing your vehicle's engine management computer. But what if you've already got an iPhone or an iPod Touch or an iPad? Now, if you're like me, you're probably wondering why the heck we just can't use the mobile devices that we're already carrying around to tweak our ride's brain. But the only way to interface with your car's computer is via the obd-ii port, which is located under the dash of 1996 and newer vehicles. So how do we get this to talk with this? Well, our good friends over at SCT figured it all out by creating the first Bluetooth obd-ii interface of its kind that communicates directly with your iOS device. It's called the ITSX, and not only will it give your vehicle more performance in 15 minutes without getting your hands dirty or even cracking open the hood, but it can also monitor your vehicle's engine parameters, read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, and measure your vehicle's performance using the built-in performance calculator, all wirelessly. Now it includes a variety of configurable on-screen virtual gauges and layouts, and for parents with younger drivers, the ITSX also has the ability to set a vehicle's speed limiter for increased safety. Yeah, my daughter's gonna just love me for that one. It's currently available for $19.96 on up Ford and GM gas and diesel vehicles. This is by far one of the coolest and most useful gadgets I've seen in a long time. We're already having a lot of fun with it. Now, the ITSX app is available right now in the Apple App Store, and you can find out more information about the ITSX hardware by clicking the parts button at our website. If you want to give your late model Mustang that classic retro Shelby look, there are a number of things that you can do, from suspension to wheels, a body kit, and a whole lot more. But one of the simplest accent pieces you can add that will make a huge difference in achieving that look are these side quarter panel scoops from 3D Carbon. They give you that bold styling with a tight flush kit that is very easy to install using the provided OE-approved 3M double-sided tape. There isn't any drilling or cutting either. They're manufactured using 3D Carbon's high-pressure injected polyurethane and are backed by their factory matching warranty. The kit comes with a side quarter panel scoop for each side, polyurethane dome mesh decals for the side scoop insert, 3M adhesion promoter, and of course the 3M tape to stick it on. They come in a matte white finish, but they can be painted to match your vehicle's paint code. Available for Mustangs 2005 on up. You can learn more by visiting the parts page at our website. Do you have one of those clunky old garage door openers that just make a ton of noise every time you open and close them? Then you should check out the new garage door openers from Craftsman. This belt-driven model includes a die-hard backup battery for when your power goes out, 2 remotes for your vehicles, a wall control, as well as an exterior keypad. Now the really cool thing about this whole setup is the AssureLink connectivity. You hook this little guy up to your internet router, and then you can control and monitor your garage door from any mobile device or computer. Now we already have a garage door opener here in the Motorz studio. That and the excellent step-by-step instructions from Craftsman are going to make installation a breeze. Now let's get that old garage door opener out of here. Now we've got our old garage door opener removed, we can assemble the trolley, which is going to attach to our garage door on a rail, which is really easy to assemble. It just snaps together like this. With our belt loop through the front of our rail, we can install our pulley with the supplied hardware, then loop it around the gear that's on top of the garage door opener, and then connect and adjust our tensioner. Install the door bracket at the top of the garage door, then attach the door arm. We removed our old garage door sensors using some Craftsman wire cutters. Now we're going to take our new ones and add them onto our existing bracket, make some adjustments, check the alignments, and tidy everything up. Installing the die-hard backup battery couldn't be easier with its built-in storage area. Connect your wires for the sensors and the wall control, and then set your thresholds for the garage door. The only thing left to do is to mount your wall control, customize your settings, set the time, and test everything out to make sure that it's all working properly. And if you'd like to monitor it or control it remotely, all you've got to do is visit Craftsman's website and add your device. The installation of a Craftsman garage door opener is very simple, especially if you reuse your existing wiring like we did. Now we've got 4 different ways to open up our garage door, whether it's from a vehicle remote, our wall control, our keypad outside, or anywhere in the world from a mobile device.
Hi, I'm Nate with Sears Tools. Let me tell you about the Blue Tool Crew. We know tools. With over 400 national brands and over 30,000 products, we can help you find the tools you need. Shop with us at your local store, online at sears.com/tools, or with the latest Sears Tools catalog. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And if you have any questions, give us a call at 877-4BLUE-CREW.
Letters, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
Hey, welcome to Letters. Now, we love hearing from you guys. Now, all you got to do to get your letter on the show and possibly get some E3 Spark Plugs along the way is head on over to our website. Click on that Letters button. It's right there on the home page. We want to hear about what you think about this episode, what you think of our website, anything else. We want to hear your suggestions and comments. Everything is valuable. We listen to everything, whether it's at our website, our Facebook, or our Twitter. Now, our first letter comes to us from Nicholas King. He writes, "What's up, Chris? I've been watching your show since the first season, and it's helped me work on my Mustang. What I love most are all the tools you have on the show, and it got me thinking, where's the hot tool girl? Keep it up, DIY guy." Well, Nicholas, you've already met her. She was at the top of the show, and you'll see her again in the credits with our bloopers. Her name's Olivia Corte, and we found her during a recent casting call for the Motorz girl. She fit the bill perfectly. She's beautiful, she's got a great voice, she's got experience in the automotive industry, and I could just go on and on and on. But if you want to find out more information, just head on over to our website at motorz.tv/motorzgirl to find out yourself, and stay tuned for more episodes where she'll be doing even more with us. Our next letter comes from Raylan Gabriel, who writes, "I'm a big fan of your show. I'm a college student in Louisiana, and I've modified my 2002 Honda Accord Coupe SE by watching your show. I've switched to E3 spark plugs, installed a cold air intake, aftermarket headlights, and I've even installed a Viper alarm. Thanks, man." Well, you're welcome, Raylan. Now, not only did he send in this awesome letter, but he also sent us a couple videos to show us all the things he's done to his Accord. So take it away, Raylan.
Hey Chris Duke, this is Raylan. Just wanted to say thanks for all the help and tutorials, and this is my 2002 Honda Accord Coupe SE. So here's a couple of modifications I did to my car. I have the aftermarket headlights with high intensity discharge lights, as you can see there. Underneath here I have 4 E3 spark plugs and a cold air intake. And to wrap it all up, I have the Viper alarm with remote start.
Well, thanks, Raylan. Your Accord's looking pretty nice, and that's a lot of work. Now, if you'd like to have your vehicle featured on the show like Raylan's, just head on over to our website and click on the letters button and send us a letter. Next up is Tyler Nucci, who writes, "Hey Chris, I love the show and I watch it all the time. I only use 1997 Chevy S10 and it needs a lot of work. Any advice for a DIYer like myself? And do you know of a good place I can get a cheap OBD2 reader?" Well, Tyler, of course, in addition to Motorz, you could check out other shows on television and online, but the best thing for you to do is to check out a Chevy S10 enthusiast website. There's a lot of great people at those forums, and they can help you out with everything that you're trying to do because they've probably already done it before. Now, as far as your OBD2 reader, head on over to Sears.com/tool or check out your local Sears store, because last I was there, they had a ton of options. And check their Facebook and their Twitter account as well, because they often have discounts. Iggy wrote in and said, "How should I install an oversized drain plug in a 1989 302 HO motor? I started to slowly turn it into the oil drain pan, but there's too much resistance. There is a stock double hump oil pan with 2 drain holes." Well, Iggy, you should use a thread tap to try to repair those threads so you can use a factory-sized plug. Now, if those threads are so far gone, you're going to have to use a thread tap to create some new threads, then get a new, slightly larger plug for it. And finally, Chris asks, "I've got a 2003 Kia Sedona with 80,000 kilometers and the crankshaft needs to be replaced at Kia. They asked me for $2,500. Do you think it's worth it or buy another car? If so, which minivan would you recommend? Thanks for your help." Well, Chris, you should check out what else might be wrong with your Kia Sedona, as well as the status of your pocketbook to make that decision on your own. But if you did want to move ahead with a new minivan, check out the new 2012 Dodge Caravan RT and the Copperhead Pearl Coat. Now that's a swag-a-wagon. Now I want to thank Chris and everybody else for sending in your letters to the show. You guys get E3 spark plugs for your ride. Now, to find out more information about E3 spark plugs or to find out if they're available for your ride, just head on over to e3sparkplugs.com. As you can see, machining a block is quite an involved process, requiring a lot of specialized equipment that you can't get at your local Sears store. Now, in our next episode, we're going to show you how to install new pistons from Molly Motorsports and the bottom end from Eagle Specialty Products. Now, we want to thank Britt at New Tech for helping us bring our junkyard engine back to life. Now, for more information on all the products used in this episode, just head on over to our website. We'll catch you next week on Motorz.
No, en español.
My name is Joe Blow and I'm going to search this block for you. Cut it up and use it.
You don't like that part?
Oh man, that's a fit.
Oh. From the top, right?
We got to get on the roof now? Make sure all the time wearing your safety glasses so you don't get anything in your eye.